Today, we're diving into a question that's moving from the headlines and into our offices, our meetings, and even our family dinners. And it's this: how do you lead or coach when the world outside feels like it's splintering into a million pieces? We're going to break down the new skills we all need to communicate in this deeply divided reality. So let's just start with this question because it really captures the feeling perfectly, doesn't it? The tensions we see on the global stage, they're not just staying out there. Nope. They're walking right into our workplaces, disrupting our teams, and making even simple one-on-one conversations feel incredibly complicated.
So, to really get a handle on this battlefield in the boardroom, we first have to understand the new environment we're all in. We're not talking about a physical war zone, but an invisible, psychological one that affects all of us.
Yeah, that constant stream of news about war, instability, and all the division out there, it's not just background noise anymore. It's a constant pressure that shapes how we think and feel. It's kind of like the air we breathe, and it's seeping into every corner of our lives, especially at work. And that, of course, leads us to the psychological fallout. What is the actual human cost of living in this kind of supercharged environment? What does all this tension actually do to us as people? And this is not some abstract thing. The fallout is real. And a great way to think about it is as emotional shrapnel. It shows up as this widespread fear, this moral distress over what's right and wrong. It's anger that gets tangled up with who we are. And underneath it all, there's this deep uncertainty about the future, almost like a kind of grief for a world that feels like it's slipping away.
And that brings us to a really key concept here: collective trauma. This is why events happening thousands of miles away can feel so incredibly personal. A huge crisis creates this shared psychological wound that just ripples through society, affecting way more people than just those who were there. And this is the result. We're seeing this massive shift away from just healthy disagreement to something called moral polarization. And just look at the difference here. It's no longer about debating an idea like, I think you're wrong about this policy. It becomes about judging a person's character. You are a bad person. The goal isn't to understand each other anymore. It's just to defeat the other side. And that changes everything. So if that's the new territory we're in, you can probably see why the old maps, the traditional ways of leading and coaching, just might not work anymore. This creates a huge dilemma for anyone in a leadership position. I mean, think about it. Just focusing on performance metrics, on KPIs and goals, it can feel completely tone deaf when your team members are wrestling with all that emotional shrapnel we just talked about. If you ignore those deep currents of fear and identity, you're missing what's really driving people's behavior. And here's the kicker for anyone in a leadership role. You aren't some neutral observer floating above it all. You're in it too. You have your own biases, your own triggers, your own spot in this polarized world, which makes being truly impartial incredibly difficult. Which leads us to a really tough idea to wrap our heads around: the myth of neutrality. In these highly charged emotional and moral conversations, trying to pretend you have no position at all can come across as cold, uncaring, or frankly, even a little dishonest. Which makes you wonder, is trying to be perfectly neutral even the right goal anymore? When we're facing these deep moral conflicts, does staying neutral just become a way to avoid the tough stuff? Or worse, does it make you complicit? It's a huge challenge for modern leaders. Okay, so if the old map is useless, we need a new compass. We need a new toolkit for navigating this territory. So what does that actually look like? Let's break down the principles. It really boils down to these 4 pillars. First, trauma awareness, just recognizing that people are often reacting from a place of pain. Second, questioning neutrality, being honest with yourself and others about where you're coming from. Third, and this one is huge, holding multiple narratives, the ability to listen to conflicting viewpoints without immediately shutting one down. And finally, fostering dialogue, making your goal understanding, not winning. So, that's the theory. But what does this look like in the real world? How do we take these big ideas and turn them into actual skills we can use to lead people through conflict? Well, it means developing some new muscles. It's about really listening to the stories people tell, stories that are deeply tied to their identity. It means having the skill to de-escalate a tense room, the wisdom to help people see the gray areas in a black and white fight, and the ability to help reframe that us versus them thinking. So the whole point is this: we're trying to guide people away from that knee-jerk emotional reaction and instead create a space where thoughtful, reflective dialogue can happen. That's the game changer. It's all about creating a little pause between the trigger and the response. So if we actually use this new toolkit, what's the end game? What are we really aiming for? I think it starts with redefining what winning even looks like in this new landscape.
And first things first, let's be crystal clear about what this is not. No single coach or leader is going to solve a war or end polarization from their conference room. If you set that as your goal, you're just setting yourself up for burnout. Instead, the real goals are much more grounded, much more human scale. We can help build resilience in our people. We can create these little pockets of psychological safety where real talk can happen. We can support other leaders as they navigate impossible choices and build teams where you can disagree deeply but still respect each other. And this is the ultimate prize right here. The real work is about transforming those enemy images back into what they are, complex human beings. It's about helping people see the history, the nuance, and the shared humanity in someone they might have just written off as the other side. So I'll leave you with this final thought. And it isn't just for managers or CEOs, it's for all of us. In our own daily lives, with our family, our friends, or colleagues, how can we build spaces for dialogue, not debate? Spaces where the real goal isn't victory, but understanding. That's the challenge for all of us. Thanks for joining me.